Hello, I'm Bridget Berry with BMT Consulting Services.
My name is Rachel Miller, and I'm with BMT Consulting
Hello,
Services.
my name is Agatha Taylor with BMT Consulting Services.
Hello, we here at BMT Consulting Services offer the very best in management and team consultation. In everyone's life, he or she will be a part of a team. Sometimes teams are naturally effective, but most often they are not. We would like to offer just a sample of some of the reasons why, quite possibly, things that could interfere with team effectiveness. Now, as you listen to each excerpt from each of us, we'd like for you to objectively listen and just think, could this possibly happen to you? Or could you possibly be one of these types of leaders or group members? Take a listen.
The first section in the proposal that we will go over is group cohesion. Group cohesion is very important when putting a team together for a company. When the coordinator or administrator who is picking the individual team members, they need to choose the members that have the greatest possibility of team cohesion. They need to choose members that are diverse in skills and knowledge. In order to do that, they need to look at what the ultimate goal is for the group, and they need to find those members throughout the company that can help bring their added value. What do they know? What specific tasks do they do that another member may not do? By bringing in these diverse individuals with diverse knowledge, that helps in order for each member to recognize what they may learn from other individuals, and it makes them collaborate and work better as a team. When a team works better together, striving to do better for your company and produce a better outcome. Groups are cohesive or tend to be creative than teams that are not. They work back together. They work better together. There's drawbacks. I mean, sometimes they can tend to just rely on the other person and not speak up. Like if you were to have two or a couple individual leaders who wanted to take over the group, but all in all, you would rather have a group that is cohesive than a group that is not cohesive. A not cohesive group, the ultimate outcome is not going to be a positive one for the company, and it's going to be one where the group probably most likely will have to disband, and then you will just have to restart the process again. Next, we will go into group conflict and
As we all know, conflicts are guaranteed when others are working together. People exhibit different viewpoints and conversations. They can escalate when groups do not come to an agreement. It's important that groups identify the conflict and come together in fixing the conflict. Some sources indicate that human resource managers spend about 25 to 60% of their time working through employee conflicts. In the workplace, conflict and the type of conflict that is implemented influences the individual, the group, and the effectiveness of the organization. Now, there are two general forms of conflict. In both of these forms, they've been identified as task and relationships. Task conflict surfaces among group members when members differ in views and ideas regarding the task. Relationship conflict has affective elements such as anxiety, discomfort arising from interpersonal tension and personality. Next, we're going to go ahead and start talking more about group conflicts.
So not only is internal conflict something that will affect group effectiveness, but also what about the leader? A lot of times groups are led by leaders who would be considered narcissistic leaders. And a narcissistic leader is one who has a great deal of arrogance and would put their needs, his or her needs, above anyone else's. They will use whomever they can just to seem a lot more than what they are. And so we touch on narcissistic leadership because it is real and there are leaders out there. A lot of times those types of leaders do really well in times of change. So in times of turmoil where things are there's a takeover and things are changing, the climate is changing within a company, a lot of times those types of leaders do well because they are used to that type of conflict and they strive and thrive in that type of environment. However, they may do well in that type of environment, but the toll that they take on their subordinates, the ones underneath them, a lot of times is much greater. And so there's a much greater cost there than there is a benefit sometimes. So we look again at the narcissistic leader because there are things that we can do to basically kind of deal with that type of leader. Even though it may be something that we don't like to deal with, we don't like to deal with that type of person, there are ways that we can deal with it with tolerance, with respect for knowing that everyone is different and not everyone thinks alike. There are ways to work around that individual. A lot of times, if you will just focus on the positive things that that person brings to the group, whether they believe they're much more or not, sometimes complimenting them when they've done something good will sometimes kind of calm their egos and make them a much more a better leader and much more, it'll make you a much more tolerant person as well. And so we give advice about how to deal with those types of leaders because, again, we have to deal with everyone in the real world.
When deciding if we are the firm for you to do your consulting services, look at what we can bring to you. Group cohesion, we can help you to develop those teams to help you have a better outcome and a better outcome for your company as a whole, and can help you choose those members that are going to work well together and that are going to work for the company, not for just for their individual selves.
Managing conflicts in groups is a part of people working together, sharing diverse thoughts, concerns, perspectives, and goals.
Being a leader is a great responsibility because you do just that. You lead others. It's so much of a responsibility and so and very important to group effectiveness. So much so that Disney, the mega corporation Disney, actually has a training course that they teach at their Disney Institute, and they've been quoted as saying basically that at Disney, leadership is not defined by your title, but it's defined by your actions. They believe that every leader has the opportunity to serve as a role model for future generations, and that the way you lead tells a story about your values and it creates a leadership legacy. And so it's always important to remember that as a leader, you do play a vital role in your team's cohesiveness and their effectiveness within the organization.